Hey everyone, and welcome to a pretty little podcast. So we had a crazy night for our 100th episode, and everybody was jumping in at the same time, and we just wanted to take a minute and give the credit where credit needs to go. This needs its own little section, and really, it is so exciting. Without further ado, please let me welcome Franccesca Destruct to talk about her new venue.
Oops. Hi.
Hey.
How are you doing?
So tell us everything.
Oh my God, I can't wait to tell everyone everything. This is actually the first time I get to talk about it like publicly, other than just in my own little video posts. And I'm super excited. So here's kind of like some backstory and context as to like what I'm doing. So I have spent the last 10 years, as you know, you've been there through most of it, the last 10 years of my life, like dedicated to music. And I've been on all sides of this problem, right? I've been somebody who puts on shows. I've been somebody who's booked tours. I've been somebody who manages bands. I've been somebody who's in a band. I've done all of the things. And what I came to realize ultimately is that there is a massive problem with the way that traditional venues operate, right? And it's not the fault of the promoters, and it's not the fault of the venues, and it's not a fault of the booking agents. It's not anybody's fault in particular. It really just boils down to like a lack of infrastructure. And I thought to myself, what if instead of having a venue that in order to keep the lights on just depends so heavily on alcohol sales, which can be so inconsistent. You don't know when a good show is going to happen. You don't know how many people are going to show up. So, you know, most normal venues, in order to deal with that, they are trying to book these big headliners that cost $5-10 grand, you know, just to have them play for a night. And then where do they pass that off to the promoters, who inevitably pass that off to the bands, right? It's here, you got to sell 20 tickets at whatever amount to play. And it's not the promoter's fault. It's just the cost of throwing shows with, you know, and relying on really big headliners because you need every show to be 100% packed. It's not an effective business model. That's why a lot of people fail when they open venues, right? So I sat down and I thought about it, and I was like, well, what if there was a venue that was made by bands that was almost like an exclusive club, like no national headliners allowed, right? If you are a band that's nationally playing stages, like this is not the venue that you're going to play, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to facilitate that, then number one, eliminates my cost for having to have $10,000 show guarantees or $5,000 show guarantees. And then people ask, well, how are you going to bring people in? Well, it's a sort of a two-part answer. The first part is, how about instead of punishing bands, we offer to pay them, right? So obviously, you know, when you're a venue that relies almost exclusively on like selling out tickets or alcohol sales, number one, you're cutting out a huge portion of the market, right? Most of the people who like heavy music, honestly, the ones that are really into it now are young. They're young kids. They're like 17, 16, 18, 19, and they can't get into traditional venues, right? Because there's alcohol sales. And then the second thing relying on alcohol sales does is it means that, like, again, you're leaning into the higher headliners, you're leaning into the heavy ways to make money. So my venue operates under the premise. So basically it makes money in 11 ways. Like it's 11 synergistic revenue streams, my business consultant person told me to say, but basically the shows are a significant part of the revenue, but it's only like 30% of the way that the business makes money. So if we have some bad shows, whatever. But at the end of the day, what do you think is more incentive for a band? To either make them pay this huge thing up front, or like, because they say you have to sell 20 tickets and you can make your money back. But like, honestly, a lot of bands just eat the cost. They just eat the cost to reserve the spot, and they maybe sell like 5 or 10 tickets to their friends. And then everybody's playing to mostly an empty venue until the headliner plays. And it's just like, it's not helping anyone, right?
Yeah, it's not building confidence, which is important.
Yeah. And, you know, because there's just a need to fill spaces on bills, like places like, oh God, I'm going to say this and never going to be allowed to play there again. The Whiskey will, but places like the Whiskey, they make bills that don't make sense because they're just trying to, what bands will pay. And then what people don't know is what happens in the background is basically the promoters keep track of what bands will pay. And once you become a pay-to-play band in your scene in your local
You're
market,
locked.
you're fucked. Like, and you're not going to get on any other shows. So I started. Oh, sorry. Let me go finish this thought. So, but yeah. So in my venue, the way that it works is we do a revenue share with each band, right? So for every person, when you buy a ticket online or if you buy a ticket in person, you can't buy a ticket unless you say who you're coming to see. What, you know, when you walk through the door, everybody who walks through the door will be asked who you're coming to see. We'll keep track of all that, and then we pay the bands 20% of whatever the tickets won't be more than $25, and those are for the bigger nights. And then so it's like if it's $25, then you make 20% of that for everybody you bring through the door. And I feel like something else that is also really important is that the local DIY scene, I don't know about everywhere else, but in Los Angeles in particular, there are bands that sell out like every show that they play, and they maybe have like 5,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, right? There's been such a focus on these social media numbers, and especially when it relates to heavy music, not everybody has Spotify. Not everybody has Apple Music. I mean, everybody technically has Apple Music, but you know what I mean? Like a lot of people just consume their music on YouTube, or a lot of people just, you know, they're not necessarily going to those streaming services. And so, you know, I obviously am someone who likes social media. I do it a lot. I play the game, you know, I'm part of it. But I think it really does a disservice to bands, to mid and small bands, because there are bands that I know who, like I said, will sell out a 500 cap room with no problem, but they're not getting booked at the big venues because they don't have enough of a social media presence. And it's like, the reason that we are seeing the same bands play festivals for like 20 fucking years is because there's no passing of the torch. And the reason that is because there's not really a place for small and mid-level bands to be able to expand, you know?
Yeah,
So,
unless you put money up.
Exactly. And, you know, again, it's not the venue's fault. They can't help it. That's how they're trying to make money. But with our venue, it's like, we want people actively involved. We are like every week. So basically what we're going to do during weekdays and stuff is we'll have people can nominate bands. We'll post a social media contest basically on our Instagram, and whoever gets voted for, that's the lineup. So that's how we know that it's like fans, you know, who are choosing our lineups. And we're going to have the opportunity basically to make it, we want our venue to be a place to hang out, right? Not just a place to go to shows. Because again, I don't know about everywhere else, but in LA, like the venues, you only ever go there to see like a show, right? You're like, okay, well, this band is coming to play this venue, and you know, you never really know what venue it's going to be or things like that. And it's like, these venues are cheating themselves out of a lot of opportunity, right? A lot of venues, they aren't capitalizing on things like social media, or I don't know, being open during the day, or like different ways that you can make money. So my venue is really a venue that is built by the bands for the fans. That's our slogan. By the bands for the fans, because like we are also you, and it's for mid and small level bands to really have an opportunity to make some money, to play some shows. And since we're going to make the atmosphere to be a place like to hang out, like we'll have weekly theme nights, and we're going to do deathcore karaoke and like things that are like fun and interesting, and we'll bring people in. It's all ages. So we'll have a merch store, but it's not for our merch. Basically, whenever bands get off tour, they have this problem where they have like a lot of excess merch that didn't sell. So we're going to partner up with bands to buy their like whatever they get back. We'll be like, whatever you didn't sell, we'll buy it from you, right? Because that helps us help bands, and that helps us get access to like rare merch that you could only get if you went to those shows in that tour, right?
Yeah.
And like, where else can you like go and walk into a store and get a Jesus Piece shirt, or go and get, you know, a Kasha, well, I guess a Kasha shirt you could probably get anywhere. But the point is like, the venue operates in a way that is communal. We're going to have educational workshops to teach bands how to manage their bands, how to manage their PRO, and what to do with like, what is a 360 deal, and how do I make, you know, do ads on YouTube. We're going to have those every Sunday, and we're bringing in experts from different like fields. And it's just like it's almost like a collective. I want it to be a place where artists can come and spend time together and see rising talent, and see these mid-level bands that deserve more exposure, And, you know, what I hope is that it'll be a launch pad for bands, and then they'll come back a year later and they will be, be like, sorry, you can't play here anymore, but you can come watch a show. You know what I mean? Like, now you're a national headliner. Congratulations, you know? So, yeah, it's just, there's a lot of different aspects that we want to, provide that will help bands thrive. Like, every show is going to be recorded. We're going to do a 3-cam edit with a soundboard recording of every person who plays. And if a band wants a copy of that, they can buy a copy of it. We'll make it super cheap so that it's not a crazy thing. And then it's like, now you have professionally done content in a really good aesthetically looking good venue with a good soundboard recording that you can chop up into your social media. And like, we'll let you post it first so that you get, more credit. And it's just
one of the fun things I think it was a Sumo Psycho. They had hard drives. They were selling hard drives with new music or like with just like little special stuff on it. And they were the first band that I saw that was kind of doing that. And I was really amazed at how, they basically sold out of all the hard drives that they had done up.
And it's because most people these days don't even have a CD player. Like, my new cars don't even come with CD players. My laptop doesn't have one, which is kind of annoying, to be honest. But I haven't touched a CD in I don't know how many years. I actually heard someone say the other day, "What is a CD?" and I almost suffocated. I'm just like, oh God, I'm that old. I was born in the 1900s, so But but yeah, my ultimate goal is to kind of shake up the industry and like show other venues. I hope that they adopt some of the things that we're going to put into place, because if I can prove that we can be financially successful and that we can do it in a way that's like collaborative and that is there for bands, and if maybe they can adopt some of the principles that we're adopting, maybe they can learn to diversify their revenue, maybe they can take an example out of what we're doing for our media and stuff like that as a way to like kind of change the system. Because if a venue can be successful and we're not even booking headliners, imagine what your venue could do if you are, if you're able to like adopt some of these principles. And I'm hoping that it'll kind of get rid of some of the stagnation and some of the, it's like so cutthroat right now as somebody who's in a band, like, but the thing is like, it's, if you go to like the side, like the DIY shows, the other day I went to a show, I have video of it, and it was like, I did the market research because I've been working on this venue idea for like a year, and I had to have like business consultants come in and like poo-poo on a lot of my ideas at first. They were like, this isn't viable, this won't work, that won't work, whatever, until we landed on the business model. But so I was going to these like pop-up DIY shows, and I'm telling you, these like high school kids were throwing parties with like 400 people in a backyard, just outselling venues, and everybody was into the music, and they had little like private vendors. Their friends were like sewing patches and stuff. And it was just like this entire giant community that can't. And I was like, why don't you go to this venue or that venue? And a lot of them were like, I can't get in, or it's too expensive, I don't want to pay $40, or, whatever other thing. My parents won't let me go because they sell alcohol, stuff like that. And I'm just like, yo, like, if these little fucking kids can make sustainable businesses in a backyard show, like, the culture is there. The culture is there. We just got to stop shutting them out,
So where are you as far as, because the last thing I saw was that you were still looking for a location.
Yeah, so basically we planned to sign a lease. I didn't even want to announce the venue until the lease was signed, but then it became a problem of to get business funding, you have to have like a social media presence, because if you just like, hey, here's my EIN, they're like, who the are you? Like, yeah. So I really didn't want to announce until we had that. But anyway, so I'm going to look at 2 locations on Tuesday, tomorrow. I'm so excited. And I do have a business partner, but it's just like, she has a job right now and she's like nervous to be open about it until like we have have the location locked down. She's like, what if I get fired and all that kind of stuff, which I understand. So it's like a little tough doing it by myself right now. I mean, she's helping me behind the scenes, but yeah, so we are going tomorrow to go look at 2 locations, and I have a really good lead on this venue. It's like iconic venue here in LA that's been closed down for the last few months, and they are really looking for someone to kind of come in and take over the space. And if there's a way that I could work out the deal for that space, it would be amazing. But we plan to sign the lease in July or August, and I am doing the GoFundMe thing. I don't really expect for us to reach that goal. You know what I mean? I don't anticipate that is going to be what happens. And I'm not pushing it super hard because, you know, I think it makes you feel some type of way, you know, but starting a business is difficult. And, you know, I feel like if we all just came together,
You're
but
absolutely the perfect
it'll
person
open either
to do
way.
this,
Kind of
because you've been through it. Like, you've been at the top, you've been at the bottom, you've been in between. Like, you know,
it's been a long journey. It's been a long decade. Let me tell you.
I mean, like, hey, even for me, like, I've learned so many things, even from your like videos. And I know most of it you're probably just posting for content, but I mean, all of that stuff, I'm learning so much. I mean, like, I didn't even know that you could access some of the things. You'll like do the breakdown, and that's what I need.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of been, you know, for a long time, I just kind of was like posting on social media for content. But as I have gotten older, I recognize that like things that people assume are common knowledge probably aren't. And even if like somebody, one or two people finds it interesting or helpful, then like perfect, that's cool. I've done a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I've done a lot of managing bands. I've done a lot for my own band. And, you know, people say, well, you're not a famous musician. You can't speak on. I can speak on it. You know, I'm not saying,
Yes,
I never
you
say that
are.
like,
You know what? If you have your face on the back of a hoodie, which I wear quite frequently, you've
my
made
God,
it.
Lily, my dog is being a butthole right now. But yeah, so I mean, it's cool because it's the first, and I'm harping on it. It's the first all female owned heavy metal venue in Los Angeles. It's called In the Pink, and absolutely it is a dirty pun on purpose because it's owned by women, right? That's the joke. It's In the Pink. And then the other sort of like play on that is every person who takes photos in our venue, the inside of it's going to be monochrome pink, everything, walls, floor, ceiling pink. And I just thought it would be so funny to see like these hardcore, like deathcore bands and grindcore bands playing on a pink stage with like pink walls. And what's going to happen is every time someone takes a photo, they're going to be like, oh, that's that one venue, the one venue where everything's pink. But yeah, awesome. So we're going to go look at these two locations, and you know, I'm applying to a bunch of grants right now, and I reached out to LA Weekly and LAist and Voyage LA and a couple other media places to try to get some coverage to help us with the GoFundMe. And you know, I think the most helpful thing that people can do if they're not in a position to donate $5 or whatever, which is totally fine, is go follow us on social media, because we have to have the social proof in order to get approved for any sort of grants or funding or anything. You know, they want to make sure that we're legitimate. So following us is super helpful too. You know what I mean?
So with your GoFundMe, is that under In the Pink or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I posted in a couple of my videos, and it's also like in my Instagram bio. And you know what we're gonna do is, and we're not offering any perks because I already got in trouble for that. I had this whole system, and I was like, I didn't know that you can't do that on a GoFundMe. They shut my shit down like in 10 minutes. I was like, oops, should have read the terms and conditions. But what we are gonna do is, for you know, the main wall that's like behind the stage, everyone who donates, we're going to be writing, on that pink wall, everyone whose name, we're going to call it the Founders Wall. And that'll be basically like all the people that came together to make it work and make it happen. And it's been crazy because my first post about it, I didn't want to post about it, but I did. And I was really nervous about it. And we just got flooded with so much like positive response of people were so interested in this concept of like, you know, a venue that is, instead of being predatory, is literally trying to help bands. Because I mean, I truly believe that if we like help each other, not to be on some kumbaya shit, but like if we help each other, it's a lot better than like clawing your way to the top. You know, there's ways that we can all be successful. There's enough room at the table to eat. Like other genres do it, we can do it. Lily, can you not knock everything over? Could you?
And I feel like it's such an amazing like thing, because like you said, like if venues can just take even like a couple of those things and change it, you're making leeway. Like And I really feel that it is important because I just keep hearing about more and more bands like barely being able to even play. And
You
like it
can't.
just shouldn't be like that.
And it shouldn't be, who has the most money gets the spot. It should be who brings the most fans and who has the most talent. My hope is that people will play my venue, and then the other venues, the bigger venues that are, because the venue is going to be 500 cap probably. We're looking at like a 6 or 7,000 square foot space. But my hope is that I can, instead of, because I'm not competing with the big venues because I'm not booking headliners. So I'm not competition, and that's also part of it. Is I know that a lot of those bigger venues have what they call it a radius clause, which is like basically if you play here, you can't play within 50 miles for a certain amount of days. And I don't want to contribute to any of that. So I would like to collaborate with those venues and be like, okay, so come look at if you want to know if a band can play a show, instead of charging them, see how many, we'll tell you exactly how many people they drew, and then if they're meeting that criteria, then book them on a show. It's making everything stagnant, because what happens is that, I mean, I've done it. I've played the game. I've paid to play. They don't call it pay to play. They call it ticket minimums or whatever you want to call it. It's pay to play. It's what
I
it
know,
is.
and I feel so bad. Like I have so many people say that to me. They're like, it's a pay to play. It's pay to play. Like, and I know that promoters don't look at it like that. They're like, well, we have to put a minimum or they don't do what they need to do. Like, and I've been just waiting for someone to come up with some way to fix that problem, because
Yeah, and
honestly, it's affecting so many bands, and especially right now with people having money issues. I mean,
and they're turning to these, and that's why a lot of them are turning to DIY shows, because the kids in the backyards are not charging them a ticket minimum. And, and again, I don't blame the promoters, because the venues are telling them, well, if you just want to have a show here, it's $5,000 plus whatever you have to pay your headliner. And it's like, and the venues have to do that because, again, they're relying on an inconsistent revenue source that singles out most of the people who could even go to the venue. It's like the difference in the price of insurance for my venue from selling alcohol and not selling alcohol. To sell alcohol at the venue, number one, in Los Angeles, the wait list is like 2 years to get a liquor license. And if you want to buy an existing liquor license, it's like $100,000 roughly. But the insurance goes down from like 10 or 12,000 a month to like 2,000 a month. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just insurance costs, and then they have to worry about, problems with the whatever, the California alcohol people. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, so I just think that, like, it's not the promoter's fault. They're trying to cover their overhead, and the venues are trying to cover their overhead, but we can't punish the people who are making. You can't punish the artists because your revenue model is shit, to be honest. Like, it just, maybe back in like back in the 1900s, it was viable because the digital world didn't exist. But like now, the venue has to have a digital presence. The venue, I mean, if you think about like content houses, all those big whatever bullshit on YouTube, like those people or influencers, they're making millions of dollars. And it's like, why are venues? You literally have access to unlimited content from shit that people want because you're booking headliners. Imagine if like you were making money off of a YouTube channel that you built and curated, and you had a podcast and you had all of these things going on in your venue, and you became a media brand on top of being a physical space. Then you don't have to rely on promoters. At some point for my venue, I would love to get promoters, but have them on staff on a salary. Be like, hey, you don't have to charge the bands whatever. You're going to make money regardless. You're going to make money whether the show is great or isn't great, Because it's like, venues, the biggest limitation with venues right now is that they're located within four walls. It's a physical space, And in 2025, you can't just be a physical space. You have to be more than that. You have to be, in order to, I mean, some of the biggest stars we know, like Joanne Fabrics and shit, are shutting down. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's so many physical places are shutting down. You just can't compete with, the digital world. And in order to be a successful venue, you really have to be able to do both,
Yeah, definitely. So How will you like are you planning on doing like food there, or are you doing like
So we're
they
doing
can bring
mocktails.
what?
We're doing mocktails. So we're gonna have we're gonna have a craft mocktail menu. So basically they're alcohol free drinks, and people are gonna be like, nah, but hear me out, okay? So we can't do BYOB. That's like there's a whole crazy like litigation thing, and with having it all ages, so we can't do that. But what I can do is I can have vendors who have a liquor license come in and sell at the venue, right? So
Okay.
we aren't selling alcohol, they are selling alcohol. So that's probably going to be a loophole that we'll get some people who have a beer and wine license to come in. They can sell their stuff as long as it's legal, and we can still have it be all ages. But for the most part, so we're going to be doing craft mocktails. And I know this is crazy, but a mocktail actually has a higher profit margin than alcohol, which you already know is marked up by like 400%, right? Like, but a mocktail, you're essentially selling juice, and I can sell it for like $9 or $10. And like Gen Z is like all about it. They're all about sober interest, sober living. 52% are showing an increase. And I've had to do so much business market research, like my brain is like but yeah, so we're doing craft mocktails. We're going to have the merch store. We're creating a proprietary app that works like Fiverr that basically is to help musicians get gigs, right? So at first it's going to start off with just like people that I know that we're going to have like, they're going to be basically like vetted musicians, and they're just to hire on for temporary services. We're not trying to join a band. We're not trying to, no, it works like Fiverr. Like you need a drummer for a show. You need a drummer for a tour. You need a guitar player for this. You need somebody for a music video. Here you can look at artists. They're going to post like what genre of music they're used to playing. They're going to upload clips to show you what they can play, and you can contact them and we'll take a small fee from that. So that's another way that it's making money. And also helping our friends book gigs, right? We're going to basically act like an agency to help them. We have
Well, if nobody's told you, like, let me just say, you are such a force. I'm like, this, I just can't even wait.
I just want people to know about it and talk about it and to believe in it. And, I'm going to get the funding one way or another. If I have to go bang down every angel investor I can find on LinkedIn, I will bang down the door of. That sounded crazy. I will not be doing that in exchange for funding. But I truly believe that there's just such a better way. Like there just is a better way. Like if I could be the president and be like, listen to me, stop charging bands ticket minimums, I would do that. Stop it. It sucks. And it's like, it's not out of bitterness. I don't mind, because again, I don't blame the promoters and I don't blame the venues. They're just venues run by old people, to be honest. Like they're just old. Like, and I'm
Now,
also
in
old.
LA, are there a lot of venues in one area? Like I hear about Whiskey a Go Go and that, like, are there a lot
Not
of
really. Most of the venues have been shutting down here, honestly. There's really only a few main venues. There's 1720. And if you know about LA, the thing is like even something, okay, so I'm from Texas. So 20 miles that's next door in Texas. Okay. Like that's a 5-minute drive. Well, not 5, but like a 10-minute drive. Maybe in my car, 5-minute drive, but no, I'm just kidding. But in LA, that's like a universe apart, right? That could be an hour drive. So there's Chain Reaction that's in Anaheim. That's an hour drive on a good day from LA proper. There's 1720, which is probably the most well-known venue. It's owned by the people who are in Necrogoblicon,
okay.
the two brothers. They're awesome people. Their venue is amazing. I don't want to pay another $40 to go see a fucking band there again, but I will, unfortunately. But they're in downtown, and then really that's pretty much it if you want to go for heavy music, other than like venues that are like the Regent. I mean, the Whiskey doesn't really do heavy music that often. Pretty much the Whiskeys, because they've adopted they are the most notorious for being pay to play. Like you basically have to pay $500 to $1,000 to get on any show there. I've played 5 or 10 shows there. Okay, I'm not trying to say I've done it, but the Whiskey mostly just does like rock and hard rock, and they've sort of been branching out a little bit, but not quite as much. But that's really it. I mean, there's not very many other venues that are specifically dedicated to heavy music in LA anymore at all. And I would venture to say, if you were to go to most cities, there's not a venue that is not very many venues that are only heavy or music that ends in core, like metalcore or hardcore or whatever core. And I think that
I do that because I honestly, like, usually my co-hosts are like better they know all the different subgenres of metal. Like, it's either like old school heavy metal, like I either put it in metalcore.
That's literally, I feel that way, like, because, you know, with my new band and everything, people are like, what genre are you? And I'm like, we're hardcore adjacent. That's the best that I can give you. It's like, we're metalcore with hardcore. I don't fucking know. There's chugs, okay? We play an F sharp, okay? I don't fucking know. I scream a lot.
Just
I don't know
come to the show. Come see for yourself.
Literally, just come to a show. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so, and I think that that's another advantage that the venue has is like, there are no more really iconic, I mean, there are some, but generally there are no more venues like CBGB's, which was like the iconic venue in New York that like started the hardcore scene. And that was like the place to go if you wanted to see that type of music. And that's the only music that they did, you know? And venues like that become legacy venues, you know, there's that venue's been closed for almost as long as I've been alive. And well, I guess not, but they've stopped doing those kind of shows for at least a decade. And it's like, people still talk about that place. And there are other venues like that exist, you know, and I can guarantee you that the biggest part of that is because they contributed to the culture. They weren't just a culture vulture. They weren't just there, like, you know, trying to figure out what to do. And like, and now I've seen a lot of the venues, because there's more money in rap music or whatever, it's even harder to find venues that will house heavy music. And most venues in LA, you can't even mosh anymore. They will not let you. And a lot of venues in a lot of places,
I know.
You can't.
That's happened over here too. And that's like the debate, because like I've even seen like bigger bands get up at some of the venues over here that don't do moshing, and they've tried to get them to mosh, and they're like, no, we'll get kicked out. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, and that comes from like an insurance thing, which I get, but like, the other thing though is, if you really want to be proper about it, you could I'm about to tell him myself. So, you know, when you go into a strip club, if you go into a strip club in Vegas, right, and in New York and a lot of places, whatever, when you come in, it basically takes you have to look at this thing, and you're giving consent, right? You're saying that the venue isn't liable. There's so much software that can do stuff like that now, where it's like, you come in, whatever, I'm not collecting your data for shit other than like, you can't fucking sue me if you get your head knocked off in a mosh pit. Like, you know what this is, you know? Or there are ways around it. You know, obviously I don't want people to get hurt. And since it's all ages, what we are going to have is we're going to have the mosh pen, which is like an area for like, instead of being for small dogs, it'll be like for younger kids. That's like right near the front of the stage, or 88 people in wheelchairs that want to be able to come and see the show, but maybe have standing issues. It'll be right near the front, a little bit to the left, and that will be for them to go into. It's not going to be charged extra. It's not VIP. It's like for younger kids who are like maybe nervous about getting hurt, or people who have injuries, or people who have special needs that like need a place to chill, but still don't have to be in the very back. Like, they should be able to see the show just like everybody else. So we're going to have that kind of near the front too. You know, it's like, you just have to be inclusive. Like, why not just include everybody? Cause we're all fucking here. Right. Like, it seems simple.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, with everything that you've said, there's so many people that you could reach out that honestly, it's such a cool idea. And I love the fact that, and you mentioned this, but the fact that you're offering classes, I think that's really important, because I feel like a lot of the younger bands, they want it so bad and they don't know how to go about it.
And they get sucked into the, sorry, it's so dark in here. And that's another thing that I think is important. I mean, we are going to charge for the classes, but they'll be cheap. They'll be like $30 a class, or for a Sunday or whatever. And you can come in and like, we'll have experts come, because it's like, how many people really honest, because there's so much information that's out there. You can look on the internet and you're like, how to roll out a music video in 2025? You can find 100 sources that all say competing things. Well, how about I actually have somebody who works at Spotify come in and say, hey, if you want to do well at this is what you can do. TuneCore actually gave me this idea, because they were hosting these artist meetups, and they would have people from YouTube and Spotify and BMI and ASCAP come and just discuss like what music publication is, what is a royalty, all this stuff. And it was like, I wish that I could bring every one of my friends who are in bands in and be like, could just sit and like listen, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so it's like, I don't want people in bands to continue to get fucked over. I want them to be able to collect their money. I want them to know how to do their own distribution so that we can stop taking these lame ass 360 deals with a $5,000 not advance and then like getting sucked into, you know, having some label be your first option and they're not even doing any booking for you. Like in 2025, unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, like it almost doesn't make sense to sign to a label at this point, you know, because it's just, you know, a lot of it's really draconian and you can kind of do it yourself if you need to. And don't take it from my mouth. We'll let people who actually do it for a living come in and talk. You know what I mean? Like,
So, was there something that sparked this, or you were just like, we just need this to happen?
so, I was kind of having a not midlife crisis or existential crisis or something. I don't really know, but I was in existential dread as we do. And I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm 35, and even if Fatalist, which I'm not giving up on music, even if Fatalist, my new band, like takes off, right, and does well, realistically, I only am going to have maybe like 5 or 10 more years of being able to jump around and move on stage in that way. And like, I don't want to stop doing music. I don't want to not be a part of music. And I was thinking to myself, like, what is a way that I can still be involved and around the culture? And, you know, maybe my dream didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, but how can I still leave a mark and help people? And like, if it was up to me and I could like wave a magic wand, like what would I do? You know, how can I still be involved? And so almost to the day in April of last year, I threw this show because I couldn't get my band booked anywhere. Right. It was my Fatalist was their first show. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just throw my own show then. And I booked all the bands, which was really difficult. I did all of the contract stuff. Well, I had a lawyer write it up, which was expensive, and the venue was expensive, and everything was expensive. I ended up, of course, like most new promoters, not making a dime, which is fine.
I'm gonna be honest. I really wanted to have a Pretty Little Podcast Fest. I had actually 2 venues that were on board, and the whole night. It's hard. It's
hard.
Lot.
It's a lot of work. But I put that show on, and I thought to myself, you know, there shouldn't be such a wall for new promoters who know the new bands. There shouldn't be such a wall for, I was like, I think that I can do this better. I think that there has to be a way that I can open a space that I can be involved in music and I can still contribute and I can give back and I can have my little legacy even after I'm too old to be touring, you know? Mm-hmm. And like, I want to one day be known as like, I don't know, the grandma of hardcore. I'll be like 70 and be like, yeah, you whippersnappers up there, like on my stage, you know, doing stuff. And, you know, it was sort of the aha moment is I decided to throw that show because I couldn't get my band booked, just like everything. I mean, I became a vocalist because I was told by these big bands after playing bass for 10 years, these really big established bands that like, well, we can't really have a girl in our band. And I was like, well, then fuck you, I'll be a singer. And then I did that for a while. And now I'm like, well, fuck, you know, what can I do next? Like, I'm not going to be able to tour forever. And, you know, maybe I didn't make it as a musician, but still time. But what's my fallback plan? And it's like, I have a 9-to-5 that I don't hate, but I don't love it. And I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing something that I don't love. I want to make a difference. And this is the way that I thought that I could really make a difference. Cause I just like know what it's like as a band who's trying to gain traction, how difficult it is. And I know what it's like as a booking agent who's like trying to book a tour, like how sketchy it is. Cause you don't know, you know, it's just like, I know all sides of it. So I'm like, I figured this is the only way that I could help.
So as far as Fatalist, what's going on with the band?
We are super, I haven't even, cause I'm on this kick now where like, and I did a whole reel about it where I've realized that promoting a song before it drops is the worst thing that you can do as a band. Trust me. I did this with 2 bands that I was working with, and it was like, it blew up. So I'm doing this for myself, but I will tell you guys, we are going to be releasing a song at the end of this month on the 30th. And then we're going to be releasing tracks, basically every 6 to 8 weeks. We have like 4 songs, you know, ready to go. I just wanted, the problem was that I was, in the transition between Fate Destroyed and Fatalist, we were playing a lot of the same music from Fate Destroyed, obviously. And it was like, what I need instead is to spend like a year or close to a year writing a bunch of songs, picking out the ones I like, and putting together a set list that is wholly Fatalist, so that way I can hit the ground running and be like, I have a bunch of material ready, so we can just like play shows. And also having a venue might help, but I'm not going to play my band to death there. but yeah, so we're going to be putting out a new song, and I finally have a lineup that's like a bunch of nerds like me, and like my first lineup with Fate Destroyed, or second lineup with Fate Destroyed, which is great. You know, finding members is difficult because it's like there are people who play instruments not like as a hobby, but like they do enough. And then there are people who are like Chris, who is a nerd, who knows like every single weird diminished seventh scale thing and like texts me nerd shit all the time. He's like, look at this dope guitar pedal. And I'm like, I don't know what this means, but I love it for you, you know? And those are the kind of people that you really want to be in a project like it's like long term. And so I finally found one. And all I want to say is if you want to play an instrument, play drums. There are enough guitar players. There are enough singers. We have enough of them. Please, more people learn drums. That is all I'm asking. Please, please learn drums. Don't cry on me, baby.
So right now you're just looking for a drummer?
She got mad. No, we have a drummer now. It was just a really long, crazy process to find one. It was not easy.
Oh, your dog is so cute. My mom has an antique store, and whenever she gets Spud McKenzie memorabilia, she like shows me, and every time I'm like, oh, my girlfriend has a dog like this.
And you know what's funny is I live like literally walking distance from Target, and so I'll walk her through there, and everybody's just like, it's a Target dog, because she's the Target dog walking through Target, and it's never not funny. Like it's never not funny. I'll like walk her up to the thing where there's like the big Target dog like looking out of the bins, and I'm just like, they just look at each other, and I'm like, it's you.
Oh, I'm so happy that everything has worked out. You just seem so happy. Like even your whole like energy in your videos and everything, like you can tell that you found something that makes you
I feel like it's my purpose. I feel like I get it. I feel like I thought that my contribution to the world of music was going to be my band, which it could still be, again, not giving up on music, but I feel like this is what I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that this venue, I know that this is going to work. I know it's going to work, and I know it's going to be great, and I know that it's going to matter, and I know it's going to make a difference. And, you know, also woman to woman, not being in a relationship has been great for me, honestly. I like, you know, kind of, I guess more than that, it's taking the time to not just focus on myself, but like to really look at what matters, you know, to me, and try to like figure out some plan instead of just living in survival mode. It's like, okay, so like, what the fuck am I going to do in 10 years from now? Like, where am I going to go? Like, you know, it's that. And I feel better in general. And I feel like once people find the path that they should be on or whatever, like it just makes everything easier. Cause now even when hard shit happens, none of this feels like work. You know, I go to work my 9 to 5, and then I come home and I work on venue stuff. I'm applying for grants, or I was working. My business plan is 73 fucking pages. Okay. Like I was doing that for almost 8 months, you know, or it's reach, you know, trying to think about videos to film and stuff like that. And, you know, it never feels like work. It always feels, I'm happy to do it. So thank you for noticing. I appreciate it. I feel a lot better about
I think honestly, I think once you get the venue and really start putting out what you're doing and trying to accomplish, like I just have a feeling that so many people have been looking for something like this. Like I really think that you'll be surprised with how many people are all about this.
I think so too, you know, and I was I've been nervous because, I mean, obviously it's hard to get things like GoFundMe in front of anyone because Meta pushes it way down in distribution, anything like that. Like you get very little reach. And I was like concerned because I'm like, damn, like I've had it up for so long and like hardly anyone is donating. But you know what I realized though is like, that isn't an indication of the interest in the space existing. You know what I mean? Because when I posted that first video, I'm telling you, I got flooded with messages of bands and promoters and other people being like, thank you for trying to do something about this shit, because it's been difficult. We're all like barely scraping by, and it's been hard for all of us, you know? And it's like, I feel like it needed to happen. And I feel like you said, once, you know, we sign the lease on the venue, which hopefully is going to happen next month, then it'll be like, okay, well, now it's a thing. You know, we're going to, the plan is to open in January. We need about 2 or 3 months to like renovate the inside of it. Because I'm very specific about the aesthetic I want to go for. But I think once we get the doors open and people really are seeing what we're doing, I think people are going to be drawn to it. I think people will travel to come and see it. So that's the hope.
I think it's amazing. I really don't, I can't think off the top of my head of any other venues that are ran by women. Like most of it, you either have a man and a woman or what. I mean, like, I think that's kind of a cool.
And you see where it's gotten us. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, and I think maybe that's kind of part of it too, is it being run by. So the venue also is a tattoo shop during the day. So that's another way that it makes money, is we have a tattoo shop. And my plan is, because like what gets boring about a tattoo shop is like the same fucking artist every time you go there, whatever. No offense I love tattoo artists, obviously. But we're going to have like 5 resident artists, and we're going to have a rotating guest spot. So like, we're going to reach out to like artists that never really come to this area that are really highly sought after. We'll give them a crazy deal to come sit in a chair and just like, you know, come and tattoo. So anyway, so it'll be a tattoo shop during the day. My business partner is a tattoo artist, and she's going to run that side, because I don't know shit about tattoo shops. I just know how to get tattooed poorly. But she's going to run that side. And it's been cool because I feel like as women, we're kind of nurturers. And I feel like as women, we're kind of thinking a little bit more with emotion than like cold, hard facts, I guess. But there's a way that you can leverage, you can do both, right? Like I'm very business minded, because I'm kind of like, you know, neurospicy. So I'm like very big on numbers. It's what I do for a living, is numbers. But there's just this aspect of like, I think having that mentality of being able to have the empathy and like understand like the struggle and trying to find ways to solve that problem is sort of like an inherently female thing. Like we care, like we care, we give a shit.
And you've been there, you know, when you're talking to someone that hasn't been through it and hasn't lived it and hasn't struggled and like been let down by venues or been let down by someone that kind of like scammed you, it really takes the confidence away. Like I've watched people that have played a show and they can either walk away from it and it literally like brings them to life and like they give it all they got, or they're walking away with no confidence and basically with their head down and scared to play anywhere else.
I mean, and it also like a lot. And then what happens for a lot of bands is they end up getting on these bills that do them no favors, because they're not the point of playing shows as an opener, right? People don't fucking remember the openers. I mean, if everybody's an opener, they will. But but the point is though, is that these bands, like I said, they get stuck on these bills that aren't serving them. They're not going to generate new fans. If my band is opening, you know, for somebody is like Peeling Flesh or whatever, like we're not going to gain that many fans, because they're not there to see our kind of music. And that's not the fault of that fandom, right? But it's like, or if we open for Julian K or whatever, like the genres are so different that like we're not going to garner any fans. And the other thing that happens is like these venues have full tour packages that are already 3 or 4 band bills, and then they're putting 2 locals on top of it in order to cover their ass for the show. But it's like, then those people are playing at 6:00 before people are there. So you just paid this money to play for like 30 people. And like, that's not fair either, you know? And it's like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be like that. It just doesn't have to be like that, you know? And bands shouldn't be punished. And it should be like a system that's based on like, if you play and put on a great show, then people will probably vote for your band to come back and play another show. And if you're a small band and you want to sign up for we're going to have theme nights, it'll be like Slam Sundays or whatever. And we'll have local bands come and sign up. You can come and sign up to play. And, you know, it's like, There'll hopefully be a built-in audience because our venue will be a place that's open during the day and you can come and hang out, and there will be chairs and like pool tables and stuff that you can come and do that. And like at night is when it'll switch to the venue side when we do shows. And it's like having a built-in audience is awesome for us and for the bands that are playing. Being able to have things be based on merit, like how many people are voting for you, how many people you're actually drawing when you come in. That is
now you're going to use like one of the programs. Like I know some people that do like the things use patrons or
Patreon?
Something along. Yeah, like are you gonna do one of those where the fans can kind of weigh in, or are you gonna have your own thing for the page?
No, I mean we're just probably gonna honestly just run it off of like we'll do polls on Instagram because I don't want people to have to pay to be able to vote on the lineups, you know. Okay. I don't want, and what I also don't want is like the shit like with those goddamn Twitch contests. Bane of my existence. You know, it's like not everybody can get 50 of their friends and family to log on to whatever to do whatever nonsense. So like I want to run the contest organically and have people, because you can only vote once on a poll on Instagram, you know. So it's like we'll just have people come and vote, and we'll also look back at how many people they drew before, you know. And if they're a band that showed up and like 30 people came to have them play, then we know that people who draw, you know, that amount will go on this spot in a lineup or whatever. And then, you know, being able to have our booking in-house instead of relying on like promotion companies. For the first few months we're open, we intend to draw people to our venue by basically we're offering like a no risk thing for promoters, like established promoters, where we'll be like, there's one of the biggest companies out here is like SOS Booking, which they probably will not ever hear this or care about it. But we would be like, you can throw a free show here. You get all of the door, all of everything. We just want you to, you know, come in and throw a show here so people understand that this venue exists, you know? So we'll be doing that. And it's not just about helping bands. We're going to help promoters too. We're going to, instead of making promoters, which is how bands get paid ticket minimums in the first place, is like, instead of being like, it's $3,500 for you to rent this venue for the night, we'll be like, hey, because the ticket sales are only a certain part of our revenue, we are down to do a revenue share with you. You know, pay a $500 deposit. However many people you bring through, you get that money, I get that money. We both got to work hard to promote the show. And we're going to be a venue that actually promotes their shows. And I don't mean like post some shit on fucking Instagram and it's like, we did it. We promoted your show. I don't know what you want me to fucking do. Like, no, we're going to promote our band shows. I don't understand why this is a difficult concept for venues to get behind. I don't get it, but it's every venue. They're like, post it on Instagram. That's the most I can do.
You know, I try really hard. I honestly, I understand why some people like fall behind a little bit with the posting.
Oh,
like
me too.
I went into it and I was like, I want to be different than everybody else. I want totally different content on each page. I realized that is a lot harder than I had thought going into.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard,
yeah,
you know.
Like, I mean,
I think if you're investing in it, but I think though that if it's something that earns you money, right? Like even if it's as simple as running ads for your shows, you know, or if, you know, you can do collaboration. Like a lot of venues won't do collab posts with bands. They just want to do whatever their flyer is. And it's like, why? Like, because it's not curated or professional. Fuck that. I want to be able to help because our plan is to be like, basically we want the venue to be a social media influencer, because we're going to have a podcast and we're going to have like a Kill Tony style subscription service thing where like people can pay $5 a month. They can live stream shows. If they don't want to live stream, we'll have the YouTube streaming anyway. So it's like this whole conglomerate media company fucking thing that's like digital. And like, we hope to have like a YouTube page that's like Hate56, you know, where it's like, or what's the name of that one that always does a black and white? Lawn Chair Youth, where it's like people go there to watch videos because it has like a certain aesthetic, you know? And so like we want to post the bands because we want to help them get more exposure, and we want the bands to post us so we can get more exposure. And it's just like user generated content is easier to get for something that's like a business, right? But a lot of venues don't utilize it because it's like not whatever their dumb flyer person made it. And I don't mean to say that dumb flyer person, because everyone who makes flyers is awesome, except for people who make flyers that I can't read the name of the date or any of the bands. But anyway, I have a whole reel about that too. But yeah.
I love that you say the things that like I'll be going through and something will annoy me, and then like I see you're like, so things that annoyed me today, like this just
I I love that series. That series is so cathartic. The people who are into metal that I despise in no particular order. Here's a list of them. One of them
Oh
for
my
sure.
God, I love that. Like, if you're doing good, you're a sellout. Dude, I hear that all the time.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Or like I hate, like I said, I hate when people like I look at, and especially because I like hardcore or like things that end in core, and I like DIY shows. And I'm like, I get that I'm not supposed to read the band names. That's fine. I understand that I'm not supposed to understand Sanguisca Bog. I got you. But like, why do I not know the street that your venue or your location or your show is? What is the date? I can't see. I know nothing. I know nothing other than a band that I can't pronounce is playing at this place by this booking company. Like, it's
Yeah,
counterintuitive.
when they try to use the metal, like, for the date,
Or like
man,
other
there
shit,
was
just put
one
it
the other day. I don't even
and
remember what it
serif font
was, but
and bigger. Or like they'll put it to where if the little tag symbol on Instagram is like over the actual number on the venue, I'm like
it was
but yeah.
like a black and gray background, and they had the date in gray over top of it, and it was in like the metal lettering. And I'm like, wow, like you're trying to really make this like an I Spy. Like, I have to
It's
stare at it for a second
it
to
should
put it together.
it's like that should be the first thing that I see. I want to know the location and the date. I don't give a shit that you called your show whatever Carpet Muncher Fest. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but like I don't care. What I need to know is where it is and what time it is and who can get in and how much the tickets cost. And then tell me the band names, and then nothing else matters. You don't have to come up with a clever name for every show. It's fine. Like
Oh, I'm so excited for you. And I hope that everything goes great with going and looking at the venue.
hey, when
And
we open, we got to fly you out. You got to come and check it out and come see a show and cover a
oh
show
my
for a pretty
gosh,
little podcast.
I do. And we have to go to Universal, because ever since you offered that, like back with, I think that was with FDS,
Yeah, come to Universal.
like
Yeah, we'll fly
I've
out.
been like, oh, I want to go to Universal with
Come to Universal. Yeah.
everybody. Like, you and Chris would be so fun to go to Universal with.
Chris is more fun than me, and like my dog actually likes him more than she likes me, which is honestly kind of rude. But like when I come home, she's all like, "Ah, nice to see you." But then, and whenever Chris comes over for like rehearsal or writing session, she loses her fucking mind. She's just like, "Ah, Chris." She just like has to be on top of him and licking his head, and I'm like, "Bruh, I feed you like Judas." Like, oh, okay, but I am excited, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me about this today. You're my first press for the venue, so thank you. And if you want to support the venue, or you can go to inthepink.la.com. If you want to just go see what we're doing, the link to the GoFundMe is there. I'm not gonna like preach on you to go do that. I mean, if you
And
want to.
now, just to go over it again for all the people, because when you have to go through two links, sometimes it gets complicated. You want to go to In the Pink LA,
inthepink.la.com, and that'll have everything that you need. You can go from there to anything. We have like contact forms. We have the GoFundMe's at the very, we scroll down a little bit and it's right there. And then we are still looking for angel investors, and we are offering part of equity of the venue. But that is going to be for the right people. But we are in like what is it? We're seeding stage. I don't remember I don't know. Business consultant guy told me what to call it. but basically we are pre-revenue, but we are very serious about launching, and like we already have some funding together. So if you want a part of the venue, that's there, but if you want to just donate, that's also great. And if you don't want to do any of those things, please give us a follow it's In the Pink LA on all the places on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as of yesterday, and I'm making the TikTok today. So In the Pink.
and
I feel like it's pretty easy to remember.
Please go on and give a like. Like, the more following that it gets, like the quicker she can get it off the ground and get it moving.
1,000%, because that's what all of these grants are looking for. That's what all of these investors are looking for. They want to see that there's a buzz around what you're doing. I just started the social media like a week ago, so it's very new. And obviously I'm just starting the TikTok today, so it's also very new. But that is a really great way that you can help support, is just go like and follow us anywhere. And, like, you can be part of something that changes the culture. And we are going to hopefully turn this around to end like the stagnation and stop having such a high wall of entry for promoters and bands and, you know, things like that, because there's a way that we can be collaborative, and there's a way that venues can do things differently, and there's a way that venues can stop being such a high risk, low margin business. You can be in the 21st century. Help. And, you know, we can make money without making it off of each other. So
yeah, and honestly, it's worth the fight. Like, this is something that it's gonna take time, but like, this is what needs to happen. And not just in LA, this needs to happen all over the place. So let's start it in LA and we'll move it across the country.
yes.
But I am so happy for you. Thank you so much for taking
you.
the
I'm
time
sorry
to
I
come
was
on.
late. I feel like a dickhead. I'm so sorry.
It happens. Like, I say all the time, like, I know it's really hard with the time difference. I mean, like, sometimes we'll be talking to someone from a different country and they're like, yeah, it's like midnight here. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's like 4 in the morning.
Do something. But yeah, I'm just so happy for you. And definitely we will repost all your stuff and keep us in touch about everything. We love
You're
to
going to be
post
there
all
every
about
step
you.
of the way. You guys have been there since the beginning. You're going to keep being there until we are on top of the world. We're going to help each other out.
In the Pink LA, everybody go check it out. And Fatalist.
Yeah, I also have a band.
Thank
It's
you
very
so
angry
much.
screaming music.
Thanks. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, make sure that you go under In the Pink LA, throw them some love, and if you want to sponsor, donate, be part of it in any way, it's all about the community and every little bit helps. Please make sure to check out Fatalist and all their old music and impatiently wait for their new music. And please make sure to give us a follow and make sure you throw some comments. And we love you all. Thank you for watching. Good night, guys.